Where are you at, Belichick?
I'm here.
It is my sole purpose of my day to make your life easier today. Just no.
You know what was a big trigger? I'll talk to you about it later. There was something happened yesterday. You'll
What
find this funny. And it's still annoying me.
what happened?
Nothing you did. It was something with a client. I'll tell you later.
You tell me at 1 p.m.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, let's see how many people show up.
All right. The final reminder just went out, so
Well, 60 people before this even starts is a really good sign.
yeah.
Da, 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 da. I'm gonna have like a Braveheart speech today about this. All right, it's 12 o'clock. We can let everybody in.
All right, here they come.
Good morning and good afternoon. Drop in the chat where you're from and what you're looking to get out of this session. And we're excited to get started in a couple minutes. Melissa Rubin, nice to see you. I haven't seen your face in a while. Nelson, Denise, David, Victoria, Rhode Island here. Topanga, California. All right, I'm going to give us 1 minute and then we're going to get started at 12:01. Syosset, my friends in Long Island. Austin, Texas. I'm going to deem you all the smartest brokers at Compass because you're all here now and you're not waiting. So we have a really action-packed training today. So my ask of you is, I don't know how many of you have ever heard, if you're not our clients, you probably haven't heard this before, about the 3 different levels of listening, right? You can listen to take notes, you can listen to respond, or you can listen to listen. So for all of us, we're going to listen because all of the things that we share here today, we're going to give you a complete playbook that has all the scripts, copies of things you can put into your listing presentation. And because of the nature of this conversation, there is no recording. We're not sending it out. I believe we are the first people to even make a training on this that I've seen, right? So let me share my presentation and we'll get started. So the question that everybody wants to know, Zillow and Compass 3-phase marketing. Raise your hand if this kind of feels like a showdown for you. Right? So look, my fundamental belief, now this is me as an individual, Chirag Shah, so this is my legal disclaimer. I'm not providing any legal advice, nor am I telling you this is something you must do in your business. Please consult with your sales manager and broker before doing anything. Every market is different. I mean, every MLS is different, and all of them have different rules. Now, with that being said, my fundamental belief is that strategy beats exposure every single time, right? One is thoughtful, one is just happening, right? So we're going to go through this. And, as I was making this training, in full disclosure for people who've never met me before, right? I was an agent for 14 years. I owned my own brokerage. I had 4 years on an executive committee, 2 as vice president, 2 as treasurer for 30,000 person MLS. So I'm not new to NAR MLSs, their rules. It's something I've spent a lot of time. I've chaired a young professionals network. And so this industry and home ownership and our clients is something I hold really personal to my heart. And, you know, if I look at this, if any group of people decides what's good for another group of people and then enforces that they do that, what is that called? And I'm not going to say it, right? It's not democracy. It's not a free market. It's not anything. Any brokerage in the world can do the same exact thing that you all have the opportunity to do, correct? Now, the reality is they don't, most of these brokerages are franchised, so they're all independently owned and they're not connected. And they don't have a billion-dollar technology platform, nor do they have the culture that we have, right? So the way that we're able to share information, the way we're able to go to Coming Soon and launch digital ads and agent-to-agent marketing campaigns, the way that we have a strategic plan on going through all of these phases is something that they've spent a lot of time doing, right? When I worked at Compass as an employee in 2019, I built so much national training for Coming Soon. So this is not like the first iteration of this at Compass. So what I want to share with you today is how to thoughtfully have the conversation. And my belief, if I was selling my own home, Shrag Shah, with all of my knowledge, and I could work with a Compass agent that could do three-phase marketing in a strategic way and the right way. There's a right way to do it. And then just like anything else, there is a way to do it, right? I would choose that three-phase marketing over Zillow and Trulia any single day of the week and 10 times on Sunday. Because one allows me control and it protects my interest. I don't know any brand at the world that would launch something that's hundreds of thousands of dollars and millions of dollars for one sale without no pre-marketing, no beta group, no feedback, no testing. Companies test markets and pricing all the time. They test their product market fit all the time. So that is my philosophical view. So pretty much here's how the policy works, right? If it's marketed privately first, right? How do you quantify private marketing, right? If we're marketing it just to ourselves in a private exclusive, that doesn't quantify as public marketing, right? Now, once it becomes publicly marketed, right? Now you have to conform to the next stage with this in your MLS rule, right? They're like, we have to put it in one business day. And most of us will put it in one business day on a Friday so that we get through the weekend, right? Some have 3 business days. Everywhere it's different. So make sure you talk to your sales manager about that, right? But this is going to create a lot of confusion for sellers. It is going to come up in your appointments. So we all need to be prepared today for what is going to happen next. Does that make sense? Right? Like the time to learn to defend yourself is before somebody hits you in the face, right? So we're going to go through different talking scripts, talking points, tables that we could share, the behavioral psychology behind these things, and understand, I believe that we need to control the narrative, and that starts with the 270 of you that are here today. And now understand this, if you're now pitching against your colleague, because there's many, many areas where your biggest competition is now people in your offices or people in another Compass office, right? You will know how to have this conversation with confidence and allowing the seller to have the choice, right? They are banned if they're publicly marketed, but you have to look with your MLS and your sales manager what qualifies as public marketing, right? Like we all know, like if literally I hire Melissa Rubin and I say, you know what, Melissa, you have this amazing group and community of dogs, and like my house is one of the only buildings that allow dogs. Can you pass a flyer out in your next dog park get together? That's considered public marketing. So the way that the rule is stated today, if someone wants to, if Melissa hires me and she wants me to start marketing her house to the people I know in my network, for it not to be banned and considered public marketing, she has to sign a non-exclusive agreement. So all those benefits that somebody gets when they hire you, they want people to give it up. Not realistic, right? None of this stuff makes sense. You know, the joke that I've been recently telling people is like, I guess nobody told you all when you bought the dream of home ownership, it came along with putting your house with no pre-marketing on websites that made things convenient for buyers and gave them more data to get the best deal from your investment. That's literally what this is like, right? So here is the agent-centered truth. 88% of homes are sold through agents, not through websites, not through clicks. They're sold through strategy and agents. In 2021, it was the busiest year that any of us have seen in our lifetime in real estate, correct? So Zillow, their stat said this, 3% of all sales that happened out of around the 4 million-ish or whatever it was that year were sold with a buyer finding their actual home on their website. So think about that, right? There's like 200 million visitors. I don't know if it's a month, a year, whatever it is. And there's 4.2 million sales. The majority of these people are just looking. Right? This is not like the end all be all, but you have to be prepared to be able to talk about this intellectually, right? So the data shows that the majority of real estate transactions, excuse me, are facilitated through agents and relationships. You know, most people that are buying the most expensive thing of their life, unless they're like the discounters or I'm going to go to the open house myself, which is such a finite group of people, all work with agents. So how is one website going to change the entire outcome for somebody else? Well, when perception is reality, that's what they're taught to think. So here's what I need you all to wrap your head around, right? Agent to agent marketing is the present and the future for all of us. So here's like a little secret. I've been hired and I've been asked for the last 7 years of working just with Compass agents and the 17,000 hours I've done coaching for just this group. People, when they're going to like these 20, 30, 40, $50 million pitches will come and they'll pay me for an hour to help design their pitch. And so there's one key aspect of this that nobody talks about. Do you know what that is? Now, this anyone can do. If you go into, somebody put a property type in a neighborhood in, like a property type, a neighborhood, and a price. Stick it in chat. All right, let's see what we got. A co-op. All right, a high-rise condo in Turtle Hill Creek, Dallas. Give me a price point. $1 million, $2 million. Perfect, right? Now, I can go in my MLS and I can go back on MLS or on Compass. I can go back the last 2 years. Now, listen to me, and I'm going to say this very slowly. You can print out. This is the only time I recommend you print anything out. Stick a staple in it in the top left-hand corner. Start highlighting every property that was co-broked. 90% of most deals are co-broked from you and another agent. And then I would leave certain of them blank. And I would hand this over to the seller and say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, take a look at this and tell me what pattern you find. Like, this might sound crazy, but I promise you it'll make sense. And they'll say, okay, and they're going to go look through it and they're going to say, why are those ones highlighted? Those were all of the ones that were sold via a co-broke to different agents. Well, what are the ones that are not highlighted? Those were the ones sold directly. So in reality, blank percentage of homes were only directly sold through an agent's marketing. What does that mean? What it means is if 90%, 85%, you are going to see ridiculously high numbers. And sometimes we've done this, it's been 97%. 97% of homes are sold from an agent to agent. What it makes sense is on top of the class public marketing we do to tell your home story, to package it, to position it, to promote it to the market. So when people come, it tells the story we want it to tell. Wouldn't it make sense to really focus on that 97% of where the actual buyers come from? Nobody is doing this. If you have the network tool or agent finder, especially the network tool here, all day long. Now, please explain to me if you have an elaborate agent-to-agent marketing strategy, why you need Zillow. I could literally end the whole conversation here, right? But we're going to give you many different ways to go about doing this. So if you think about this, right, what do sellers care about? Speed, price, like ease is convenience and control. So we need to be able to guide the seller without telling them, right? When I tell you something, you don't believe it because I'm a salesperson, right? If you internalize information based on questions, visual informations, things that you read, processing the thing through your brain, you have a different outcome to it, a different belief, a different value to the information because it's your own thought and your own conclusion, not somebody else's. So here's why strategy matters, right? And this is like the list and pray mode, right? Remember the 3 Ps? Put up a yard sign, put it on the MLS and pray that it sells, right? Price drops are public, right? As soon as that price goes down, the part that nobody wants to talk about is the amount of money they get goes down by 5 figures or more. Think about this. If you were buying something for $1 million and somebody dropped it by $20,000, are you even going to care? No. 2% price drops do nothing. You have to have a minimum of 5 for it to make an impact. They just lost $50,000 because they didn't go through a 3-phase marketing approach. They didn't have a chance to test the market, test pricing, get feedback, right? A lot of this that we have to realize in this moment is us holding on to our present belief system of what Zillow is, how agents work. That data doesn't lie. Like 80 to 90% of properties are sold via co-bro, but not any of us have an agent-to-agent marketing strategy in our listing presentation or the way that we market homes, right? Days on market add up, right? I always say there are 3 key indicators on establishing and positioning a home on the market. Days on market, how fast homes are selling and buyers are buying them, list price to sales price, and the ultimate price. Once you look at comps and you're past that days on market, the only thing is it goes down. Now, here's the thing. When your price goes down, your days on market goes up, the interest fades quickly. Because if you see a really great home, as people, we avoid pain more than we seek pleasure. The thing is like, oh, there must be something wrong with that house because look at the price. It's been sitting around for a while. The people's natural inclination is like, a lot of people see it. There's something I don't know here. I don't want to take the risk, right? And you have no control over messaging or perception, right? None. Because once you start going there and it's live, like if you think about it, if you go on the majority of portal websites, minus homes.com, who goes and shows the home? Somebody the seller never hired that doesn't know anything about the home, the benefits, the story, the neighborhood. They just paid to be there. Is that really what people signed up for when they're paying like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 100 plus $1,000 in commissions? Absolutely not. Hit yes if you've had an aha moment here today that you think will impact the way that you do your business. And again, I will phrase this and share this with you. You don't have to do any of this, but you need to be prepared to have the conversation because it's going to happen. This is not an if, this is a when. It's like the Game of Thrones for real estate, right? And I've known Robert for 7 years, and you know, there's a joke that we have inside of Compass: never bet against Robert Refkin because his track record is in time he doesn't lose. So look, the really important part is we need to have control over the sales process, right? You need to preserve your client's value. You need to generate buyer interest. And you need to be thoughtful of how you're marketing the properties, right? I've thought for years, like, look at how much money somebody's getting paid to market a house. Some don't have professional photos. Some have wrong information. Portals. How many people here besides me have had misinformation from the MLS syndicate onto Zillow, and your clients hate you over what Zillow did or another portal, right? And it has a really negative impact. I remember the first $1 million listing I had, they syndicated the information wrong to Zillow. And the guy literally called me over and berated me. He was like, I knew I shouldn't have hired you. I shouldn't have listened to my wife. She said your marketing was really great and that's what would sell her home. Clearly you have no experience all over this. And I'm like, I didn't do it. And like, I had to literally go back to my office, get my computer, go to the house and like literally show him, here's how I inputted the information. Here's how it shows up on 5 other websites, right? And he was like, oh, I'm sorry, but this is really a problem. Yeah, and it took us 3 days to get it off. So let's get into some more tactics, right? Framing the conversation. If you take away a frame to a conversation, the whole conversation changes. So framing is how you align it with somebody's goals, expectations, belief system, the way they see the world, right? So I would say, what scenario will align best with your goals? You only get one shot at a first impression. Do you want the buyer talking to someone who knows your home and your goals, or someone who's never stepped foot in it? What do you think every person's going to say? What aligns with their goals? Put it in the chat. We're going to keep you guys engaged here today. Nobody? You all want somebody showing your home that's never been there? Is that what you sign up for when you pay your 4, 5, 6% commission on, let's say, $1 million house? You're paying $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 for professional representation. Now, check this out. Now, here's the thing you slide over and you just say, take a look and let me know if you've ever thought about it in this way and what your conclusion is after, right? When the inquiry goes to a Zillow agent, when the inquiry goes to a listing agent. So remember we were talking about in the beginning using behavioral psychology, right? So if I said to you, you know, Tara, when it goes to Zillow, the agent's never been in your house. They have no relation or obligation to you. They're focused on getting a lead, not selling a home. They use the home to start a conversation, not close it. They can only reference public information, may work for the buyer and encourage negotiation against your own goals, right? That's disconnected from the whole launch strategy that we've talked about. Fragmented interest, buyers may not value the full strategy, investing in capturing a lead that may buy any home. That sounds really pushy and salesy, doesn't it? You give somebody 3 to 5 minutes and read this, they're going to want somebody, because that's actually what they're calling you in their home for, that knows their story, hired to represent them, can speak to their goals and timelines, can show and sell the house with expertise, right? Can highlight details that you know and urgency, protects the pricing strategy and is negotiating for you, creates a buyer experience aligned with a marketing plan, right? Because we all know that there's a difference between
Can it
walking
frostbite you?
somebody through a property and actually showing the home. That's why I believe, and it's tried and true, that New York City agents can work in any market in the world, because they know how to do two things that most agents have a challenge doing. They know how to market properties because they don't have an MLS, and they really know how to show homes, right? So this is something, right? When the inquiry goes, you can help build momentum and competition, and ultimately they're invested in selling your home. This is one path to have the conversation. Now, how do we position three-phase marketing? When you talk about it, you got to remember, you are the customer and client of Compass. So all the product marketing is made to you. So when we go to these offices and we talk to people, like, how do you talk about maybe Compass coming soon or whatever it is? Oh, we put your listing on compass.com as a Compass coming soon. No one cares about that, right? What do they care? A launch strategy to maximize the equity in their home. That is the destination your client wants, right? They don't want the feature. They don't want they want the benefit, feature, benefit, destination, right? The feature is three-phase marketing. The benefit is a protected marketing period, no public price drops, no days on market, aligning feedback, testing price. But that's not the destination they want. They want maximum control and maximum equity out of their home. All right, so let's get into some of these scripts. The shift in the marketplace, right? Zillow recently made a major policy change. If a home is marketed publicly before being on the MLS, sorry, there's a typo there, it will no longer appear on Zillow or Trulia even after going public. This has raised a lot of questions. Did you know that 88% of homes are sold through agents and not on websites? Do you think you would benefit from a strategic launch using a three-phase system designed to create momentum, drive demand, and deliver results? These are all talking points, right? Like the beauty of talking points are they're conversation starters, they're engaging, and you can make them your own. You can take them verbatim or you can change, but this will drive a conversation, right? And now if you've gone through the whole where homes are sold, what percentage of agents, you've actually gone through the statistics of their neighborhood and what percentage sold by co-broke and whatever it is. Look, in the end of the day, buyers are going to find homes, and most of them look on multiple websites anyway, because no buyer trusts that even their agent gives them all the properties, right? So do you think you'd benefit, right? So this is one talk track. Now, I always say this to our clients and anybody that we're training. You need to be able to adapt your value proposition in real time based on the conversation you're having, right? There's no one size fits all client. Everyone has different goals, expectations, past disappointments, information that they've read, right? So here's one talk track. Now, here's a framing script. Let me ask you a question. When you think about selling your home, what's most important to you? Getting the most money, selling quickly, or doing it with the most controlled process as possible? Do you know how many people don't ask sellers, do you want a controlled process? Of course they want control, right? Because there's listing life integration. Selling it, who's here has sold a home, their own home? It is one of the worst processes ever. I remember the first time I sold my own home. Like 2 small kids, 2 dogs. Like I had to live like my house wasn't my house, right? I had to change certain things I didn't want to change. I remember times where like we cleaned, we packed up, and then somebody's like, oh, I'm sorry, I have to cancel the showing 5 minutes before. People want a controlled process, right? Because how we bring your home to the market directly impacts all 3 of those outcomes, and not all marketing strategies deliver the same outcome. And then you could go through your value proposition, right? I wanted to give you multiple different options because all of you are different. All of your markets are different. All of your clients are different. So if you start internalizing role playing and practicing these conversation guides now, when the conversations happen, it's going to be like this. You won't lose a listing because of this. You won't lose a client because of not knowing what to say. And ultimately, you won't, or not that you won't, you'll be able to position yourself and to be able to support your client regardless of what they want to do. Some of them are not going to want to do this, and that's okay, right? But our job as consultants and advisors is to be able to paint the other side of the picture. So if you look at the 3-phase timeline, right? You introduce to the Compass, you introduce the property, just the Compass agents, right? You help generate buzz, you create feedback. Now, here's the thing. When it comes to feedback, there is a model: purpose, outcome, next step. You need to align with your client what you're getting feedback on. You know, when somebody calls, like, hey, I have feedback for you. Feedback on what? I don't understand what that meant. I was so confused the first time I was 23 and somebody asked me that question. Oh, we want feedback on the price. Well, maybe we were thinking of doing upgrades or not. I wonder if we could sell at this price in this condition, right? So you're going to align on the purpose, you're going to align on the outcome, and you're going to align on the next step in advance. So you're aligned, right? They always say in partnerships, the best way to split up $1 and align on it is before you have it. Then you're going to go to phase 2. You're going to take the feedback from phase 1, and you're going to launch a digital ad campaign through, right, Facebook, Instagram, and Google. Then you're going to also launch an agent-to-agent marketing campaign in the coming soon. Again, you can get some feedback, and then you're going to launch, right? If you do this the right way, you'll have momentum. You'll have created urgency with some buyers if you've priced it correctly, right? I think the way to maximize the equity in your home is to price your home aggressively, because you're going to have people interested in phase 1. You're going to have people interested in phase 2. And the third part is you invite them all to the open house, and you'll have huge traffic, right? People from phase 1 and phase 2 will be coming, and they just tell them we're not taking any offers till the Monday after the open house. Most people work during the week. So they'll come possibly during the week again, but they'll all come during the open house. You'll invite all the neighbors before the open house, right? Put food, drinks there. And once they see all of those people there, what do people think? Oh my God, I have to spend more money. It is no longer a logical, pragmatic decision for some. It's emotional, and that's where your clients win. So explaining the Zillow ones, right? if your home, it's not that if it starts as a private exclusive, so excuse my typo here. Look, if your home is publicly marketed prior to going on the MLS, outside of the MLS things, it's going to be banned from Zillow and Trulia, right? That being said, we still list your home. It's still on compass.com and all the other websites that are out there. Now, yes, Zillow is the most trafficked website, but that being said, let's remember the statistic. Where do most buyers come from? From agents, right? So they're not losing exposure, they're gaining control. Oh, sorry, Redfin, yes, Redfin is banning it. It's very hard to keep up with all this stuff. But again, if you comply within your local MLS one day coming soon rule, you still fit into this. I'm sharing this with you in anticipation of there's more to come and some markets are different, right? Don't worry about what's on the slides. They're all in a comprehensive playbook that we built for you with all the scripts and all the information. Because like what we care about is you using this information, right? Like you chose to invest your time with us here today. So the most important thing for me is that you're able to use what you learn, not that you hear more information. So look, the buyer behavior, I call this the 88% framing method. Here's what really matters. 88% of buyers use an agent. That means a buyer is coming through a relationship, not a Zillow scroll. We're not relying on passive traffic. We're creating urgency among qualified buyers through strategic time, right? Talking points. You can create your own conversations. I could sit here for an hour to 2 hours to go through actual scripts, which we'll do for our coaching clients that are on here, to walk through, here are the questions you ask, here's the talking point, here's how all of this comes together.
Yes.
Zillow equals browsing. Agents equal buying, right? Serious buyers work with agents. Agents use MLS. Compass syndicates your listing everywhere else. And most buyers search on multiple portals. They're not just looking on one. And so no one has ever done a study of how many buyers are on duplicate portals at once. For the majority of people I've ever worked with, they're looking on realtor.com, they're looking on Zillow, because they don't believe, again, that we even give them all the listings. Private exclusive is safe. Do not listen to the typo inside. It's supposed to say publicly marketed. So I will wrap this up in a bow in the end. Now, let's go through some objection handling. But won't we miss all the people on Zillow? Zillow's a great tool for browsing, but agents sell homes. 88% of buyers work with an agent. We focus on marketing to the right agents and building momentum and interest for your property before it goes on the market. I want as much exposure as possible. Exposure is important, but exposure without momentum often leads to price drops and longer time on market. Our three-phase marketing approach allows you to build momentum, interest, test pricing in the market prior to going live. Which one works better for you? Patrick, nice to see it. So we're not going to be on Zillow at all. That choice is 100% yours, and I support you 100% what you do. It comes down to what strategy will align best with your goals and unique situation. Are you willing to give up all the benefits of Compass three-phase marketing to be on Zillow? It gives them a choice. So if you want a consultative-based script, let me ask you, when you bought your last home, did you find it yourself or did an agent help you? Similar to you, most buyers rely on agents. In fact, 88% of buyers do. So would you rather rely on random website traffic or targeted outreach to serious buyers? What do you think the specific benefits for you would be if we can test pricing, build interest, and attract buyers before going live on the market? I don't think people even have any idea what they're giving up, because also Compass three-phase marketing is new, right? And the second thing is there's not like a large consumer education on this process. They don't know that they could launch their house like a Google launch, an Apple launch, a Tesla launch, like what the greatest brands in the world do. All right, so here's the closer here. Before we move forward, I want to show you a quick side-by-side comparison of how most homes are marketed versus the Compass three-phase approach. As you look through this, ask yourself, which of these would give me the best chance at selling for the highest price? Take a moment to review this table, and then let's talk about which approach best aligns with your goals. There it is. Now, I will give you all a minute to read this. Okay, so this is what I call the put your money where your mouth statement. Is there anyone here that wants to give up the right side for the left side? Anybody? Bring me your objection. I'd be happy to go through it with you live. The slides, the playbook has all of the actual information. You don't need my slides. You want the playbook, and it's all corrected in there. We'll be emailing you all the playbook. Right. So look, if the listing goes sale and we're not on Zillow, like, look, number one, you have to price property accordingly. All of the data is there for you. So for all of us out there, here is like my warning to you is stop taking overpriced listings. The only result is your clients are going to be mad at you. They want you to do open houses every weekend. No amount of money will sell an overpriced product or service, or Hermes would sell their bags for even more than they do now, right? And the second part to this is, look, if it's overpriced, you're going to have to remarket the home and have like an actual relaunch strategy. And one website is not going to change the outcome of a home. I don't believe that, right? You need to learn pricing. You need to learn how to get price drops. You need to learn how to run digital ad campaigns. You need to know how to share your insights reports. You need to know how to ask questions, right? Because neither one of us that's a listing agent controls what buyers are willing to pay for homes. You don't control what somebody's neighbors are willing to accept for their home. So when you look at those data factors, days on market, list price and sales price, and the price, that is the actual information. And if you're going through three-phase marketing, the goal should be to get your client to align that if it does not sell or have interest at that price, we need to go to the recommended agent price, which will cause traffic. Yeah, you look at the EXP people, that it's the most crazy thing I've ever heard. You listen to the guy, he goes on a live webinar. It's the most unprofessional thing I've ever seen, saying that like Robert and all of you work for Wall Street. It was like a bought company, no path to profitability. We've been the number one brokerage for several years in a row. And in most markets in America, we have some of the best agents. Are they saying that you guys all made bad decisions? No. You guys run a business like a business. And you offer people value that they can't get somewhere else. And the thing that we all have here that nobody else does is each other. All right, so Philip has an objection. The only disagreement on that statement is if you argue up front that sellers, you may never get that listing. I also think you can slowly work on the seller after they sign the listing agreement and being their expectations into reality. At least that's what I'm hoping for my current listing. Okay, Philip, this is not a business strategy. It is not, right? Purpose, outcome, next step. The data is the data. So you need to help them understand. Most people price outside of their price bracket, right? Most homes that are in that price bracket that they're in are considerably nicer. A strategy would be bringing your clients to those homes that are similar in price to theirs and ask them, if you had to buy a home at this price, would you choose yours or one of the other three and why? It helps, right? This whole point of three-phase marketing is to be a strategic advisor and being able to guide people through these phases and being able to help them not go on the market and drop their price. Because once the days on market start, once the price drops go down, they're never going to end up at the same value. Compass coming soon. You can now, as any agent at any company, set up a search on Compass for coming soon to get all the inventory. It's not a private exclusive. So to be 100% clear, anything that was publicly marketed, right, for more than outside of the MLS thing. So I don't know how they're defining public marketing. As of today, we feel that a private exclusive is just the Compass agents. But the second you market it outside of just our internal emails, they're calling it public. But again, this is a third party dictating rules to people who own homes that they have nothing to do with. They're pretty much saying that my website is the single most determining factor in an outcome of an agent's ability to sell a home and the price that a seller gets. Right? So here is my closing statement. Look, everybody, the future is now. It's today. If you've looked at real estate over the last year, we have gone through more changes than you could ever humanly imagine. And I don't know who's drawing on my screen, but thanks. I feel like my kids are here. It is this. If you look at the impact of the NAR settlement, right? It brings back to that same question. What does my agent do for the compensation received? Compass One answers that. You need to know how that works. Then they started this whole three-phase marketing. It's Compass against everybody thing. It's crazy. No, like people actually use this. Our stats show 81% of homes that sold on private exclusive or coming soon got 81% at or above asking. If I'm selling my home, it is naive to believe that every person wants the most traffic, the most people, and the most offers, because the data point they omit is most of us that own homes that bought it before the whole COVID surge, their home is worth more than they ever imagined. And the price that they're getting, they're really happy with, right? You need to know how to clearly communicate what you do for the compensation you receive. You need to know and understand how Zillow really works. You need to understand how days on market are impacted. You need to be experts and understand when you're going on a listing presentation, look at the listings that sold and see how many of them got price drops and be able to highlight to the clients, like, look, this listing started here and this listing goes here. It lost $150,000. And if you comped it out, it should have probably sold at this, but because of the days on market and the public price drops. The restriction is on public marketing, the restrictions on public marketing, the restrictions on public marketing. Sorry if I confused anybody, right? Two things you want to do. You want to check with your sales manager and your local MLS or what are your coming soon rules. Most important thing to know, right? So look, as we wrap up our time here today, there are a few things I want you to do. Number one, everyone right now, take out your calendar, right? And block off time in your calendar to practice and implement what you learned today. I call it the rule of 72. If you don't practice and implement what you have learned within 3 business days, you're never going to use it. You need to educate yourself in your marketplace on all of the details on how this works. And essentially what Zillow is saying to all of us is our website is more valuable than you. That's what they're saying. It beats your strategy. It beats your advice. It beats your thoughtfulness, right? Zillow Premier Flex. They sell people's leads back on their listings back to other agents at 40%. So if a Zillow Flex agent, and I have nothing wrong with people that are making money on Zillow, it's a business model. But if I list Mike Rivers' house and I don't have a certain type of membership with them and they have a Zillow Flex model, that company is potentially making 40% of an agent's commission off of another person's property, their intellectual property, their ownership, their rights. So if I'm all of you, I'm putting this in, I'm role playing with people, I'm practicing this narrative, I'm putting these inserts, I'm making them for my listing presentation, and I'm owning this conversation. And just understand this, the most valuable words that you can say to your clients are, hey, I'm going to share with you 2 different schools of thought. Let me know which one you align with, and whatever you decide to do, I support you 100%. That's it. And you leave it to them, because whatever a person that owns a home does is their choice. Nobody else's. It's not your choice. It's not Portal's choice. It's not NAR's choice. It's not an MLS choice. Your home, your choice. Right? So look, love in my heart. I love you all. Thank you all so much for joining us today. We will get you the playbook out there today. So please spare our team the emails, right? Like our support team's great and they write back to everybody. But we're going to put everything together. They have both the tables in there, they have the scripts, they have the talking points. Now, if you want to help me out for 10 seconds, put in the chat what was the most impactful part of this training for you. I love hearing what really connected with people. And if you want to drop off now, feel free to drop off. We actually got to end 1 minute early. So if you want to share what's been most impactful for you today, feel free to do that. And if not, it's a great time to check out. The statistic, they're not losing buyers, they're gaining control. Getting the stats about agents. No, if you register, we have your emails. The quick turnaround. Look, for our community specifically, our clients and all of you, like as soon as something happens, we need to make training, right? Like I don't want to sit and wait. It's easier to change something once it's done based on whatever new crazy thing they come out with. My favorite answer, reminder to block time and practice. Yes. Neil, Compass private exclusives are not going to be limited, right? It's Compass coming soon. That's it. We can privately market it to each other as much as we want. Practicing within 3 days of what you learned. Yeah, sellers want control. Aaron Wittenstein, dude, haven't seen you in a long time, man. Nice to see you here. Practice, practice, practice. Have the end game for sellers, right? Yeah, it kind of feels like a Marvel movie. The pricing out of their price bracket and bring them to the homes works all the time. All right, we'll give anyone 1 more minute and look, go back to your day with passion, power, and know that everything you need is inside of you and everything else you have in this community, you have us. And look, we'll just keep growing together. So with love in my heart, I love you all again. Thank you so much for being here. And I will talk to you soon. Wait, there's one more question. Do you think clients know how Zillow makes money? I don't think the clients care how they make money, right? What they care about is their home, price drops, who's showing it, what their representation is. That's what they care about. You don't want to turn it into like a model. You want to turn it into, hey, this is best for me. And I never thought about the other side of the coin. I've showed many clients estimates for homes that sold much higher. I tell them that the reason this estimate's not accurate is because it's a Zactimate. It's made up numbers based on an algorithm, quoting Chris Smith. Yeah, Chris, my buddy, right? And the reality is, do you know how much that Zestimate hurts buyers? As a buyer's agent, right? It would drive me nuts. Well, the Zestimate says it's worth this much money. I was like, oh, has Zestimate even been in the house? Like, that's crazy. Yep. All right, everybody, have a great day, and I shall talk to you soon. Bye.